Mic. Camera. Action.
I asked you for a price. What is this?
Man who might be interested in taking the job. This man will.
My boss said you're the man for the job.
Oh, your boss got his facts wrong.
Two things you should know about my boss. He never gets his facts wrong. He never takes no for an answer.
Well, there's a first time for everything.
Well, not this time.
You don't want to do this.
I don't think you're in a position to tell me what I do or don't want to do. You have 10 seconds to change your mind.
I'll give you 5 seconds to remove your hand.
Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue, from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the Focus Filmography and discuss how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. For episode 20, I'm joined by practical co-host Spider-Dam to discuss the 20th big screen appearance of the Stath in his third, but not the final in the franchise, transporter flick. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. So, Dan, thank you for joining me once again to discuss what appears to be the Stath's final hurrah as Frank Martin, transporter extraordinaire.
Yes, we're back in the Jason Statham vehicle, as we've described it on previous podcasts. This was his big breakout role, his big breakout character. It's where he set up his stall, his Cockney geezer stall, and he sold his goods. And it's come to an end of sorts. I'm sure we'll get into it. I said this on the previous podcast on the Transporter 2. I haven't seen this. I did plan on seeing it, but I never saw it for whatever reason. And part of me is glad I didn't pay for a cinema ticket. I'll be honest.
Sure.
I'll be honest.
No, it's totally fair. I mean, obviously, it's not the end of the franchise. We know it span off into TV, and there was a prequel reboot, which I've not seen. It's just on my list to watch next. But yeah, this is the end for the Stath. But let's not worry, people.
No.
This is back from 2008. Stath is going to be okay.
Yeah,
he's going to find a couple of other small franchises to take part in, as well as, establish another one of his own, because we've got the Meg 2 coming out this year. So
yes,
he's going to be all right, despite the Transporter coming to an end for him.
Well, we don't know. Maybe the Meg 2 maybe finally gets eaten by a shark. You never know.
You never know. He won't. We need the Meg 3.
But
Wheatley's already talking about it, which is
China needs the Meg 3.
Yeah.
They're funding it. They'll fund it.
Sure.
Fair enough. Like, fair play. If you want a giant shark movie, you're going to get it. Fair play.
Yeah.
They'll come out to see it. Yes, absolutely. More giant shark movies, but good ones, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know we've been burned by trailers so many times, but if this follows on the track that the Meg gave us, and with the looks of the posters and the trailers, which really seem to know how to sell what this movie is going to be, plus the talent of Ben Wheatley behind the camera and behind the script, hopes are high. I hope I'm not building up, but hopes are high for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's got a very. I quite like the remakes of Piranha 3D,
yeah,
3 Double D.
Yeah.
They're very tongue in cheek. They know exactly what they are. the silly kind of exploitation flicks, and and I'm down for that. If you're knowingly being a bit like, oh, this is a bit silly, it's a bit stupid, I don't mind that, as long as you go full force with it and just have a lot of fun. Because again, it's a fucking giant shark movie. If you can't have fun with a giant shark movie, you're doing something wrong.
My God. It's Megalodon.
It's a Megalodon. Fuck
It's a good segue, though, to be fair, because fun. Transporter 1 was fun.
Yeah.
Transporter 2 was arguably more fun, if a slightly lesser successful movie. Transporter 3 is not really any fun at all.
No.
Where is the fun?
Where is the fun, indeed? Well, he's come back to France, so we're back in France, which I think was a good choice. I think you couldn't really stay in the States. I think bring it back to the roots. Often sequels do kind of have a roundabout kind of circular fashion. They come back to the original in some form, or you learn something about the original, or the Dark Knight Rises, we learned that Ra's al Ghul has a daughter, and the League of Assassins
trilogy as well.
Yeah, it's very similar. Like they'll always kind of come back and just kind of link it all together in some way, or have some sort of a reveal or something. So it makes sense that they're coming back again. We've got our French policeman. He's back, and again they're having wonderful little friendship. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not," and they kind of have that playful rivalry again. They're fishing this time. They're currently trying to fish. They're not doing a very good job.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute, actually.
Are you an expert at fishing? Is this what you're?
I'm not an expert at fishing, but I also feel like perhaps two guys on a boat fishing is not the way to open a transporter movie. I like the gentleness. I like the friendship. I agree with that. It's not your opening scene.
Well, I'm gonna make a point here. There is a painful flashback earlier in the film. It is very forced, really forced, because they've gone, oh shit, we've not had a fight scene. Yeah. And there's not going to be a fight scene for another maybe 40, 30 minutes.
Oh, it's too long. Yeah.
So they've gone, they've forced in this part of the film which feels like it should be earlier in the film. So I agree with you. I think for whatever reason they filmed that and we're going to use it, but then didn't, and then moved it, and then it's not even like, it's not like you're gradually flashing back. It's like they just all of a sudden hit the brakes on whatever you're learning, the information you're getting, and it's like, oh, I know this guy in this car. Flashback, and you're like, what? What's that? He's not there. He's not. It doesn't look like he's a friend. Like, you would think you would show them being friends if they know each other, because he sees his passport and is like, oh, I know him, and But then obviously we see that there's a job that he's expected to take as the transporter, and for whatever reason, Statham turns it down and has a big fight scene and says, call this guy instead. And they eventually do call that guy, and it kind of links in and leads into the film. But I have no idea why they put that scene there. Put it at the beginning, put it right there at the start, because then we know what's going on, and then maybe go, like, I know people hate this, but 2 months later or 3 weeks later.
Well, it's Megaton talks about Bond quite a lot in terms of inspiring his decisions in this movie. I mean, we'll talk about him a lot, I think, throughout this. Bond starts with a little mini mission every single time. So why this isn't like a little mini mission, as you said, Transporter refuses a job. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why. We always know him. Credits 2 months later, like as you said, it works perfectly well. I think what you're trying to tell me here, really subtly, is that this film is badly edited. And my God, isn't it? But yeah, I agree with you. It makes no sense the way they do it. I think it's trying to be clever,
Don't know.
but it doesn't work at all, because it's not. If it had been Tarconi, it might have worked. If it had been the inspector, but it's just a random dude in a car who's just crashed into his house. It means nothing to us.
Yeah, and then you've got to, not only are you learning that, you see the fight scene, then you come out, and then there's a whole learning about the armband and how that works, and the bracelet and all that. And again, it's it's rushing to give you all this information to set up the film, set up the stall, what have you, and it's just it's really like it feels really forced. I think it just feels all of it feels a bit tacked on. And again, there's a character later on I'm sure we'll discuss that feels very forced as well, and irritating and annoying and all of those words. We'll get into it, I'm sure, but yeah, there's a lot of information. It's trying to. It feels like they're ramming it down your throat when it's really unnecessary to do that. It feels like you could have had that sequence at the start and done that, like we do in Transporter 2. It opens in Transporter 2 exact same way. Like it's not a bad thing if you open the film in a similar way. It's not a bad idea.
No, well, I mean, look, Transporter 1 opens with. There's a little bit before, but with the car chase from the bank to learn Frank's a great driver and he will take risk and he knows what he's talking about. Transporter 2 opens up with a big kick-ass fight scene in a garage. Transporter 3 opens up with these two dudes fishing. Like, it's just it sets the stall, doesn't it? It really sets the stall. And actually, I'd probably have rather watched a gentle, middle-aged, maturing man movie between Frank and Tarconi than I would the shit we actually get. But it needs to open fast. It needs to open hard. It needs to show us Frank's back in action and he's back in France. It just needed an action scene to open the movie. It was a really poor choice. Yeah,
what you were saying, like Tarconi, it should have been like Tarconi in the car, or the death should have been Tarconi. I kind of agree. I kind of agree with that because, like, as much as I don't like Beverly Hills Cop 3, and most people don't, for obvious reasons, I think it was a good. The impetus of him going back to Beverly Hills was his commissioner dying, and again, people love that character. He's a real life commissioner. I know Dave and Chris talked about it on the VHS Strikes Back quite recently. And all of his kind of sayings and stuff, and insulting. You made my dick itch, all that. I thought that was a good decision within that script. And I think that probably would have made more sense here than just some random fucker. We don't know their relationship. We don't know their friendship. We don't know how they've known each other, how they met. Nothing. It's just another random man.
He's another transporter.
Oh, fuck. He's dead.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't like even it would make more sense in a way if it was a random guy doing this mission. He drives into Frank's house and he accidentally becomes involved because he still accidentally becomes involved anyway.
Agreed.
Because if they go, oh yeah, you were the guy we tried to hire. Weird how he just it's a coincidence, but I've seen stranger coincidences in films happen. And they're written in some cases, but I think that would have maybe, I don't know, just worked a little bit smoother, just to smooth out those rough edges of it.
Yeah. The trouble is that you're trying to fix a problem that I think is unfixable. The whole catch for this movie of hiring Frank to do this job to transport Valentina across. Is it? I can't remember where they're going now. They're driving from France to. Yeah,
they were going to Budapest, I think, originally. Then it was Bucharest, and then they went to Odessa.
That's right. Yeah. So like, that is totally. It amounts to nothing. It's totally pointless by the end of the movie. I mean, we're jumping over the place again, but that's fine. Like,
the film does.
When he gets to good point. When he gets to Odessa, so do the bad guys. It's fucking pointless. It makes no sense. So I think that you trying to fix something, I think you're doing the best job you can, but I think you are trying to fix something that just can't be fixed because the whole premise just does not work. In the first movie, when he is a transporter, he is given a job that is A to B and he does that job. And then there's repercussions and it spirals out from there. This one, the A to B job just doesn't work. They don't need him. They don't need a transporter. They even say it halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
I don't need you. Any old guy can drive this car. All right. So why have we made a film about it then? It's fucking annoying. It's so annoying.
I will say I did quite like that. That was one of my favorite sequences, is when he gets Frank out the car. He's on the payphone. He's like, "Oh, I thought we were meeting in person." He was like, "Nah, don't fancy it." And again, it's fucking stupid. It doesn't make any sense, but it leads to probably one of the best sequences in the film, where he gets on. He's got a. So the premise of this film is we've got. Well,
let's do that. Let's explain.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that first of all. So Frank was trying to be. It was this shady government official played by Robert Nepper of Teabag fame from Prison Break, doing his creepy best in this as well. And he is basically, again, it's a very, very fucking. It's like the last one. It's like really fucking bizarre plot and very weird way of getting around things and doing stuff. So we have a politician in the Ukraine who is he's very environmentally friendly, and he's trying to stop all these big companies from dumping toxic waste. Great, fantastic. Unfortunately, some shady characters in the business that they want to dump, the people who want to dump the toxic waste, have hired this shady guy called Johnson, who is Teabag, and he has kidnapped his daughter. We don't know this at the beginning of the film, but we find out later. But it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious from the get-go. I will be honest.
We got a package. What is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's this girl sitting next to me in the car. It's not them random bags. All of it is bad. Sorry, carry on.
It's not those telephone books. It's not them yellow pages.
I'm so shocked it turns out to be Valentina. Because otherwise, why the fuck is she in the car?
Exactly. And why she got a bracelet on. But anyway, so we have this. And Robert Nepper's character explained this later, this absolutely ludicrous plan he has. Again, much like the virus in the last film, just fucking bizarre. Basically, he wants her to be transported to a place so she can be picked up. So she's the hostage situation is for the father, the politician, to sign a contract to allow the dumping of toxic waste. So if he doesn't do that, and if he doesn't sign it by a certain day, there is a leaking boat as well that's incoming very, very slowly, and they're trying to hide that it's leaking as well. And there's a ticking clock, and there's a ticking clock that wasn't in the second one, that was missing from that second film. So that's quite effective in a way, in a sense. And he's trying to delay it and trying to, and he's getting involved with the FBI or whoever is involved, some Secret Service people. So what Robert Nepper's character has done is he gives Stath and the young lady Valentina these bracelets. So they're liquid based and they're magnetized. So if they move too far away from the vehicle, the car, and it's Stath's car, he asks for it to be his car. So this bracelet, if they move too far away from the vehicle, the liquids will mix and it will explode. So they must be near this vehicle at all times. I read that this was apparently based on Wedlock, the Rutger Hauer film with Mimi Rogers, which I watched during my research for our top 5 prison movies with Max. Go listen to that. That's a good podcast. Wedlock is actually all right. And again, it's instead of cars, it's they're married to each other. So they've got to stay together. Or if they're separated, the two people are separated, then they blow up. They've got these, it's got it around their neck.
Battle Royale as well, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's it's a little less violent than Battle Royale. It's a bit more like slick 90s thriller, sci-fi thriller.
Yeah.
But
is it Fortress with Christopher Lambert as well?
Oh yeah, it is a bit like
idea.
That. Yeah. I think Max had that on his one on his list, so I think that's why I didn't go with Wedlock, but it was an honourable mention, I think. But yeah, So that's basically the premise. So Stath has got to get out of this situation, save the girl, stop these terrorists or these toxic waste dumpers from doing their worst. So that is the plot as succinctly as I can do it.
No, you've done a great job. But I mean, I think part of the problem with this is that he is not involved in the wider story. So in the first movie, he gets caught up with Lie, and then he comes to be involved in saving all the human trafficked. I don't know what's the term for that, but all the people that are being human trafficked. In the second movie, he gets embroiled with the family and wanting to stop them getting the virus. It's a bit more personal, I suppose. But the widest, this one is not. I hear you. It is about the toxic waste. It is about this, but the Stath doesn't even really know about any of that.
No,
he just cares about saving this woman. Which again, I guess if you make that a personal story, that's okay. But as you've alluded to, and as we'll talk about, she is one of the most annoying people you could ever hope to meet as a character.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, she's been played by somebody who is not a trained actress. So you've got dual problems there. So they want us to invest in this relationship, and they want us to believe that Stath has fallen in love with this character. I mean, I just don't buy it at all. I do like the MacGuffin of the cufflink things of the wristbands. That works. That's clever. I like that. And it does have a couple of decent payoffs in the movie. So yeah, that part works.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I think even the dialogue is really bad.
Ooh,
it's really fucking bad. Like the bit where one of the best sequences is that he goes to his German friend, and
Otto,
who again never met before. Just turns up in this, and he's trying to figure out where the bomb is, how he can deactivate the bomb. Is there any way he can take the bracelet off, or unlink it with the car? He can't do it. And while they're stopped, they're being tracked, and all these guys come in and say, "Get driving, get driving! You've got to do the job." And he's like, yeah. And again, he does that. And there's a very that sly wink and that little nod. I think that's your new logo, actually, isn't it? That little image. And that's probably might be my favorite moment in the film.
Says a lot.
Yeah, and then he just kicks the shit out of them. I think it's arguably the best action sequence in this. I think, and it does.
Agreed.
And Korean is back. Choreography on the choreography, but I don't think it's his best work. I don't think it's his most imaginative work.
No,
but there's stuff here I can still enjoy. And we have there's a moment he's kicking the arse out of all these guys, and again he's stripping himself off. Again, we're getting a bit of stuff. I don't know what Mike's tick list is for this. What was it? Naked.
Always the same four categories, yeah.
So shag, kiss,
skins, so gets his top off,
and what's the other one?
Kills or gets killed.
Okay, yeah. So it's a full house then for Mike.
Yeah. I think it originally was just the Stath character gets killed, but actually, that's pretty much going to be a 0 from this point forward.
Yeah.
So I've sort of adapted that to be like, does his character
do a kill?
Is he responsible for killing anyone? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and he's using. I like that he's using the shirt, and it's he's using it as a weapon. But
yes, agreed. He is in the garage though, and they don't use any oil.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they did reference it on the second film, so I don't know if maybe they wanted to reference it again, or like,
yes, they did want to do that because that would have made me happy.
Yeah, true. But also, they might. Also, that's the problem when you're referencing a better film within your film. Like, that's always a danger as well.
But you said about like the little wink, even if it's like a little moment of like, there's some oil over there, and he's just like, I'll use it if I need it, and then he doesn't need it, or I don't know, just.
Or maybe you could do the Temple of Doom thing where he goes to use it, but then he can't for whatever reason.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah,
like that might have been a nice little nod. But I thought it was a fairly good fight scene. And then you get the big guy comes in, and he's like, "Oh, you're the smart one because you're not going to fight." And he's like, "No, I am the big one." and then he's like, "Oh, you're not so big now, are you?" He like knocks him down a peg and stuff. But yeah, it's. Yeah, that's one of my favorite kind of fights.
I agree, and it's about halfway through, isn't it? And it's a pickup that we need at this point in the movie because we have this long intro where we understand what the mission is going to be. We're cutting backwards and forwards and here, there, and everywhere to see all the different elements, which a lot of films fall foul of. I think of doing a bit too much, cutting around the place. Then we start the first long stretch of Valentina and Frank in the car, which is just snooze-worthy.
Yeah,
and then you're right. This is like about the midway point, and this is the best fight. And I hear what you say about Korean, and there's a couple of decent moments, but you hit the nail on the head. It just doesn't seem like he's trying really. Like the fight with the big guy at the end. I quite like the imaginative moment when he ends up falling through some planks, so he's kind of down to Stath's level. Then he whacks him in the head with a shovel after punching him 10 times in the face. It's just really boring. Like compare that to the hose pipes from the hose pipe from part 2 or the axes from part 1. Yeah, I don't know. It's also really hard to tell how good Korean's choreography is because of the editing of the movie. It's so over edited. Every action scene is cut. And I know we're in a post-born world, at this point, and that's probably what has influenced it. But it doesn't suit Corien's choreography. It doesn't suit the Stath's fighting style, because he's able to perform these moves. And the reason those two movies worked is because we got to see him do that. The Stath could exist in a Hong Kong movie. You could move him out there, stick him in a Hong Kong movie, no problem, because he can do that shit. You can actually watch him do it. We don't need to edit on the hip because we need to hide that he can't do it. We know he can. So it's a big problem, I think. So even here, when this is a good fight, we're still finding flaws in it. Whereas I think before, we were always talking about the fights being the high point and bringing the film up a level, maybe nitpicking here and there. But actually, if in this film we've got long, boring stretches with two actors with no chemistry, with somebody that can't act, and the fights are bad, and the plot is bad, and the dialogue is bad, we've got real problems.
Yeah, that's Andy's Full House. There you go. All just
Everyone's
bad.
getting a full house today.
Everyone gets a full house for this film.
I did notice a few. I don't know if you picked up on this in this garage fight. I did wonder if it was an homage to Raiders the Lost Ark.
Okay.
So just before the fight starts, all the bad guys line up opposite Frank, and it's like, right, now we're going to take you on. Come on in. And there's like a flipping ninja. He kicks and knocks down immediately. That's kind of like the swordsman.
Jack, after In the Name of the King, I don't ever want to talk about flipping ninjas ever again. Don't give me. I've got enough trauma from that film.
Sure. Well, we're doubling down today.
Yeah, go on.
He uses his belt like a whip, doesn't he? Later during the fight, he's stripping off. Like you're right. The jacket comes off. That's used. The shirt comes off. That's used. Whoa, Stath still looks really cut.
Absolutely.
Looks really fit. I mean that in both meanings of that word. He's maintained that from Death Race, where he got down to like 6% body fat. He's like totally ripped.
Christ.
Fucking yeah. So then he's using his belt as like a whip, and then you just mentioned like the big guy comes at the end. It's like the big one, and it's like the big boss final fight that Indy always gets as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it. Maybe it's because I've just seen Dial of Destiny. I've watched all the Indiana Jones movies.
I guess it's a little bit like Bond as well, because like there's always that big Aryan blonde, isn't there? Like from Russia with Love, there's always that big, or Tomorrow Never Dies, that tall blonde guy. So maybe it's kind of that as well. And again, we've talked about them, ripping on Bond and ripping on Raiders as well, especially in these transporter films, especially. So, because
the first one, isn't it? He goes under the truck, doesn't he? So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me. It's not something I noticed, but again, at this point, I was like, "Oh God, for fuck's sake!
How much longer do I have to go?
What are we doing?" Let's talk about Valentina. Okay, she's a hairdresser. She's got a really interesting look. I'll give her that. She's got
very pretty, very unusually styled and for this kind of role. Absolutely,
because like supermodel looks, absolutely stunning. Again, and I'm not being a trained actor who paid lots of money to be trained. I'm not one who is like training is an absolute must. I'm not one of these kind of like. I think it helps quite a lot. I will say that. I think you can tell when someone isn't trained, I think a lot of the time, or hasn't had any form of training whatsoever, be it on camera, theatre, whatever.
Sure.
And sometimes casting an unknown who has no acting experience can really work out. Like This Is England, that young lad in This Is England.
Thomas Turgoose,
Fucking fantastic. Brilliant. What a find.
Meadows is good at that, though, to be fair.
True, yeah, he's got a good eye, but sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. And I know people have said, I can't train an actress to be attractive, but I can train a model to be an actor. I think they said that on Battlestar Galactica, I think, when they were casting that.
Okay.
And whatever, but sometimes it works. But I'm not one who's completely opposed to non-trained actors being in things, because sometimes it works. I'm pretty sure like Short Round was untrained as well at the time.
Yeah.
So there you go. Wonderful find. So I'm not bashing her or but I don't think she was quite ready for the challenges that this role would bring her. And I also think the writing is only doing her a disservice on top of that.
Yeah, I agree. but I think you're being kind, and you're always kind. I am bashing her. She is shit. There's no getting around it. She is fucking awful.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I get it. Like, somebody has a really interesting look, and you may cast them, and you may hope. But I mean, Besson literally stumbled across her, didn't he? In the streets of New York. You send her to acting lessons before you get to make the film. You must have seen the quality she's producing, and at that point, you have to decide it's not going to work. She also must have had a chemistry table read, surely, with Jason Statham. They've got no chemistry whatsoever. So it's not all on her. She is terrible, and I'm afraid we can't excuse that. I'll be the bad guy here. I don't mind.
Sure,
I don't mind being teabag here. She's atrocious, but you're right. She's not helped out by the fact that she's just been put into this role and hasn't been given enough opportunity to rehearse, to learn, to create chemistry with the Stath. Who knows how the pre-production went? And you're right, the script is fucking awful, and the character she's being asked to play is unlikable as well. I don't know how we're supposed to find her charming.
There's not a moment. There's not a moment like for example, when we see the Stath, he's stripping off and fighting for his life. She's turned on by this, but
understandable.
Like fair enough, fair play. and I can't read women, so I don't even know when they're turned on by myself, which is very rare, I think. But but she her
maybe it's all the time and you just don't realize.
Maybe just women are just walking by going, oh god,
yeah, absolutely
disgusting. What is he?
No, I meant the opposite.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's the opposite. Yeah, maybe
because you can't read it.
Yeah, like maybe every woman I see or sees me is instantly turned on. I sincerely doubt it, but her expression does not change at all. You can't. She's like, oh, stare at him like you're really attracted to him, or you're really turned on, or do something like, even if she started like stroking herself, or just like not like touching herself, erotically.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But just like kind of, she's like hot under the collar, or she's she's feeling the dress, the fabric of her dress. I don't know
if you know this, but I'm not a trained actor. I came up with that on the spot.
See, but again, you don't need to be a trained actor. Some people just have the talent. There you go.
Wow, thank you, sir.
And Valentina unfortunately didn't.
No.
So yeah, there's just nothing there. And then her dialogue is like, she's unlikable. She doesn't speak. She says, "Oh, women need to have a bit of mystery about them." And again, she could have told him, like, what difference does it make if she told him the whole plot of the film? Like,
immediately.
What would that be? Like, if it was like, she knows the whole situation, she knows what she's doing there, she knows the situation is just being very fucking difficult.
Yeah, and if she didn't know he hadn't been put in the same position, if she thought he was hired and he was willing to do the job, but he's got the same bloody wristband as her, so she knows he's being forced into it. She knows the last guy just died. She was in the car with him. Yeah. Again,
he's breaking his rules for her. He's breaking all the rules.
Yeah,
like,
true.
The rules might as well not fucking exist.
Frank. Yeah, the rules don't exist in this
movie. The rule, they're like, oh, we'll mention them just so we can fucking throw them away, like immediately. Like, oh, why bring them up if you're just gonna fucking forget them anyway? Yeah. Like, and I think that's one of the main problems with this film is it's going, oh, fuck all of that shit from the previous films. We'll just do our own thing. And unfortunately, that has let it down quite massively. But yeah, and we have this. She's very, just standoffish. Again, the characters don't necessarily have to be likable, but you need to fucking care at some point. And the thing that really fucked me off is when she started taking the drugs.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's when they stopped at the garage.
Yeah, they stop at it's just before they stop at the garage. So she's opening up a little bit, and they think she's Russian. I can't stop talking about Russia and the Ukraine at the moment.
I know. Yeah,
it's on like every single
so badly. This conversation they have, isn't it? When he's like, "Oh yeah, you Russian," and no, I'm Ukrainian. And the whole conversation.
We're different people. We're different people. And it's like, because he thinks because they're trying to work out who she is and what she is. And they say, "Oh, what does she sound like?" "Oh, I think she's Russian." "Oh, Russians." And he talks about like reading Dostoevsky and being them all being doom and gloom and not the optimist. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm not doom and gloom. I just, I know I'm going to die. I'm certain I'm going to die." And he's like, "You should try being more of an optimist. I see an optimist in you." And And then she's like, oh, found some drugs. Found some drugs. One for you, one for me. And he's like, no, we're fucking fighting for our lives. We're driving. We've got explosives strapped to us. Why the fuck would we take drugs? What the fuck are you thinking about? And she's like, okay, fair enough. Takes one. And then she goes to take the other one, and the Stath tries to stop her. And they almost crash, and then gives up. She takes it anyway. And then she goes into a shop, and it's just the fucking most annoying thing. She's like when you have a drunk friend, or maybe a friend who's taking other stuff, and you've got to fucking look after them, and they're trying to do all this weird, mad shit, and it just becomes, and I've been that person as well, don't get me wrong, but it just becomes fucking irritating so quick. And it's supposed to be funny. She's like, she finds a bottle of vodka, she goes to buy all this other stuff from the shop, and then she goes to the toilet, but then she realizes she's too far away from the car. So she pisses on the floor, steals
hilarious.
And it's supposed to be funny, but it's really not. It's not done in a funny way. She's not funny. It's just like, woo, I'm having a good time.
Just drive off, leave her to blow up.
Fucking hell, I would like definitely. But fuck me. And again, the shop owner doesn't do anything. Like the shop
it's weird,
owner,
isn't it? Yeah.
The shop owner, I'm like,
it's like he's transfixed by her, isn't it?
The stench of piss would have been so pungent and strong. You would go, is someone pissing in here?
Well, she's still in her party dress from however many days ago when she was kidnapped as well. So, you know, she probably had a bit of a funk going on.
Oh, God, I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely. Because she was in Ibiza. That's where they got her. So it's been a few days, like, travel for her. And it's weird as well, because it feels like they're trying to combine all the previous female characters from the other films. So you've got Lai from the first one, who had a deep, meaningful connection with, and you know, it was a good relationship they had. And then in the second one, you've got the mum, who again he has this good, strong, emotional connection with. But then you've got the greasy villain. Was it Lola? Lola,
yeah.
She's greasy, and she probably needs a wash as well. And it's almost like they're trying to marry all of those characters to one female character for this film, and it just doesn't work. All of those disparate elements you cannot combine together. Those very, very different characters, you cannot just put them all into a sandwich and expect it to work. All of these ingredients are fine by themselves, but you put them in this fucking soup and it's a shit soup.
Delicious.
Just awful.
Let's hope she never listens to this, right?
Yeah.
She is shit soup. What does it say about Frank as well? That, you know, Lai, that relationship, whatever it was going to be, didn't work out. I mean, we know that they had sex at least once during the movie, and who knows if they carried on having a relationship afterwards. That didn't work out. He was very respectful of the Mun character in Transporter 2 and chose not to sleep with her when she was drunk. And so we've seen these two sides of him. We've seen like he can be impulsive, but still care about the woman afterwards. We've seen him like make the right decisions and respect women. This is the woman he falls for. This is the woman that breaks his barrier. This is the woman that he falls in love with and breaks all his rules for.
And he's respectful in this as well. Like she's like, oh, let's, you know, oh, you turned me on earlier. Let's have sex. I've taken some drugs. Let's do some sex. And he's like, no. He's like, I'm not interested. We've got fucking explosives strapped to us again. By the way, we've got somewhere to be. We're going to die if we don't, or they're going to chase us. Whatever, and she's like, "Oh, why do you not find me attractive? What is this? What is that?" And then she goes, "Are you the gay?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "I am not the gay." And again, I don't know if that's maybe a reference to again what he was going to originally be, because he was originally going to be a gay character. But I just was like, oh, like he's done the respectful thing, and you're just being a fucking cunt. You're being a cunt. And I'm really sorry, but you are. Like he's doing all the right things. He's not taking advantage of you. You've taken far too many drugs. You've also got a bottle of vodka in you. Like it's not, it wouldn't be right in any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. However, a little bit later, she manages to get the keys for the car after, so her dad sends out some agents after Frank.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he believes that, well, they're involved. Kind of, he's not being forced to do it. He's just one of their agents.
Yeah.
And they,
I guess, is the arguable reason why we need a transporter. But
Yeah, sure.
Very flimsy. It's very thin.
Yeah, and then they kind of there's quite a good actually. I thought that chase was all right. Actually,
Oh, I hated it.
no, not for you.
It's speeded up. It's weird. It's like a Benny Hill sketch.
Yeah,
I
true. Yeah,
hated it.
actually,
Hated it.
thinking about it.
I
It's
just
been a
want to
while since I
flashback
watched it now.
Fair enough. I want to flash back to the garage as well.
Oh God.
Perfect opportunity for an Origina.
Exactly. That's what I thought. I was like,
No Orangina, no oil. This is not a transport.
like
movie.
she should have stolen some Orangina. That's what she should have done.
100%.
That's what it should.
Yeah. Sorry to cut across you. I hated that scene.
No, fair enough.
Like I say, there's problems all the way through the editing. It's using all those kind of tricks that were popular at the time.
I'll be honest.
Speed
I think
ramping
at
on
this
light
point,
flashes and...
at this point, I'm trying to find while I was watching.
Yeah,
I think I was trying to find any positives I could. I'm like, oh, a car chase, great, anything.
It's like listening to a podcast or an audiobook at 1.5 or something. It's just slightly speeded up. It's really weird. Like, we don't need that. We know Frank's got skills. But yeah, sorry, you were going to say, so after this car chase, when they get away, I think my problem with him being the transporter is if the whole film had been him getting away from other people, then it would make sense. But it's this one little 5-minute window. It should have been 10 minutes because it was speeded up, the car chase for sure. The rest of it is him getting away or fighting Johnson's guys, who are the ones who hired him. So it makes no sense. Like, it needs to be other people coming in that requires his particular set of skills.
And the police in this film don't give a fuck. Like, you don't see the police at all. Like, they're not even a character in the film. Like,
no, they're not.
Even though there's all this thing about trying to find the daughter and trying to do this and trying to, and Tarconi or whatever his name is, he's barely in it as well. Like, he might as well not be in the film.
Bookends, yeah.
It's pointless, and he's not even really doing his. He doesn't do some kind of hacking computer stuff a little bit, but even then, I'm like, and again, it's just to give Frank the exposition he needs. Like, that's the only reason he's there, which Valentina could have fucking done in the car.
Sure.
The whole fucking time. She knows everything. She could have just gone, oh, this is exactly the situation. You don't need him. So he's fucking pointless in this film as well. So again, like, a really good, wonderful little friendship and character. Just fucking chuck him away. Might as well. Or if Valentina had no idea, it would make more sense. If she was like, I've been kidnapped. I don't know what I'm doing here. But she knows. She knows. And then after that chase, they survive. And like, Statham's like, fuck. Like, there's a moment where he's absolutely like, fuck, I need a minute. Christ.
Yeah.
I am almost dead. And then she's like, here, watch me dance. I'm going to do sexy dance for you. Oh, I think you're very sexy. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And then she gets the keys off him. And then God knows how we got to this point, but it's a fucking Frank Martin striptease. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? I don't get me wrong. I appreciate the Stath getting his top off and showing his pecs. Fair point. Like, if we're gonna fantasize about him, we can exploit him in that way. If
the objectification role reversal in this movie is actually quite interesting.
Yes.
If they'd done something with it, like the moment with her in the car when he was getting, as she said, redressed, and she's like, "Whoa!" Like, we're all going, "Whoa!"
Yeah. Exactly.
So they could have done something interesting there, but they don't, because they don't do anything interesting. And Jason Statham really does not want to be on set on this day.
Yeah,
you can just tell it is so painful. Him forcing himself. He does not want to do this scene. Look, we've watched him dance before. We've seen him oiled up and painted, and
sure.
Before he was an actor, he was a dancer in a couple of music videos. We know he's got some moves.
Yeah.
We know he's got the body for it. But yeah, he is not interested in being in this scene whatsoever. God. Because it's shit. Because it makes no sense on paper. It makes no sense on screen. It makes no sense. It's not seductive for either of them.
It reminds me. Have you seen The Hitcher with Rutger
Yes, a long time ago, but yeah.
A long time ago. So Jennifer Jason Leigh is in that, Thomas C. Howell, they have a kind of a relationship, kind of a love story in that. Apparently there was a sex scene or a love scene in that, but they cut it because why would they?
Right, yeah. And this
why if there's a man chasing you with a shotgun, trying to run you down, trying to kill you, why the fuck would you all of a sudden go, yeah, let's just have a bit. Why would you be that vulnerable when there's a fucking psycho killer after you? Why be that distracted at that point? Like, I would be so fucking nervous and like looking at every fucking window and like have had my back to the wall with a knife out. Like, there's no like, if it made sense and it was organic, but it's not. It's literally just, like you said, objectification. And again, he's not playing into it. He's just like he's doing it in character, and he's just like, I'll take my top off. But then all of a sudden, he's like, oh no, I'm actually into this now, and I'm into her. And then there's that thing where she's like, this is my sad backstory. I was a good party girl having a good time, and now I'm kidnapped with a bomb on my bracelet. And it's like, and he's holding her like it's the love of his life. And the way he's holding her, it's like, finally, I found the person for me. And it really isn't. It really isn't.
No, because she doesn't have any defining characteristics that are attractive at all, other than, like, she's nice to look at, but not as a person. That's really interesting what you just said about the Hitcher, because what popped into my head immediately was the Terminator.
Exactly.
Where Carl Reese and Sarah Connor do have sex.
Sure.
But actually, it's almost like, this is our last night on Earth. We're probably going to die tomorrow.
Yeah. But that makes sense.
You've never got to have sex because of your horrible future, and I've been in love with you my whole life. Yeah. It's written so it makes sense.
Yeah. Also, you can't have a John Connor without someone having sex.
No. But it's almost as if James Cameron thought about why two people in this moment might do that and wrote it into the script.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just, let's have it off.
Yeah, exactly. Not all we need. Like, it's very much like, oh, we need a sex scene here, or we need a romantic scene
100%.
here, or we need some more male objectification here. And yeah, it's just the pinnacle of just what the fuckery in this film. Like, what are we doing? Just who signed off on this? Yeah,
it's true. Let's flash back a bit, because I think we'll get towards the end of the movie, but I do want to talk. You said you liked the scene, so when Stath gets out to talk to Johnson on the phone, as you said, he then decides, actually, I don't need you after all. Somebody gets in the car and drives away, leaving Frank to chase after the car before he blows up, which, again, I like that concept. That works, although the trouble is it doesn't work with the overall. I like that idea, him chasing after the car. I don't like the fact that he suddenly decided he doesn't need him anymore when he went to a lot of effort to get him.
I 100% agree.
And you said you like that scene because he basically gets a BMX bike and he chases after him. Convince me, because I fucking hate it.
I like the tension. Was it Wanna Be Your Dog was playing? I Wanna Be Your Dog.
Yeah, which is another problem for me. But
because obviously it was used in previous films.
It's used in Lock, Stock, which we covered together in the first episode. But it just takes me there. Yeah, so it just doesn't.
Again, reminding you of better films.
Somebody must have known that was in Lock, Stock, and that's a movie with Jason Statham in. Somebody must have known that. So it's either a callback, which doesn't work. He's a completely different character. I don't know. I like the song. It just doesn't work for me in this.
Do you think, what if it was the Stath's idea to have that song?
Would you be? Then he was wrong.
It was wrong. He was wrong.
Sorry.
I think I like the idea that it's as simple as just fucking driving away. That's it. I just need to. All I need to do is drive away. Because sometimes I think, unfortunately, sometimes I would forget about the bracelet.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Like some moments I would just fucking forget about the bracelet, and I'd be like, so there's a moment later with the car where it goes underwater, and I'm like, oh, I'll just swim up, and I was like, oh wait, no, the bracelet, the bracelet. But again, the fact that I'm forgetting about it also makes me feel like they've forgotten about it. The writers and the directors and stuff, they've forgotten about, oh shit, yeah, we need to do that, or oh fuck, yeah.
That's your countdown timer. Not only is it proximity, you've got a certain amount of time to get there. Yes. So every now and then there's a beep, 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 and a bit more liquid goes in, or a reminder. That's another way to keep bringing the bracelet back in.
Exactly. Or he jostles it and he goes beep, 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 don't jostle it, something like that. Or I don't know. There's ways and means of doing it. Better films have done it better. Wedlock has done it better. But yeah, and it's a little bit cheesy, it's a little bit silly. But again,
a little bit cheesy.
Okay, a lot cheesy, a lot silly. But we had coconut fists. I will defer. Yeah. We did have coconut fists, and I think that, and that him flipping the car up and having the crane knock off the bomb in the previous one is fairly silly. But Again, I didn't mind it, but again, I'm looking for things to like. I'm looking
Yeah.
for anything where I'm like, oh, that's original. Oh, he's on a BMX and now he's absolutely going for it. I like that he was just fucking throwing people out the way as well. Like he didn't give a
Sure.
fuck. He's like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
There's again, it's like the slithers where I'm like, well, that feels like the Transporter films I know. You know, they're like, oh, that's kind of a bit like the jet ski thing, or and there's elements where I'm like, fuck, if you just, it's you can feel it's like just under the surface, there's something there. It's like a really juicy spot that's just not broken the surface, and it's just not popped with any satisfaction.
Perfect analogy for this movie. All right, my question to you then. My question to you: why is it not a motorbike?
Because it heightens
BMX.
It heightens the tension because it's not as fast.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But, you know, James Bond ain't going to get on a BMX anytime soon. Jason Bourne goes on scrambler bikes and motorbikes. Sure. It's stupid. I don't know whether like BMXing was in at that point or
could be. Yeah.
You know, I buy that Frank Martin is a good driver. I buy that he's a good fighter. I buy that he could do parkour and that kind of free running stuff. I don't buy that he's an expert BMX bike rider. When has Frank Martin taken the time to go out and do half pipes and all this? I don't know any more terms than half pipe. I don't even know if that's a bike BMX term. That's what came out. It's bullshit. I hate it. It just doesn't fit in this movie. Again, it doesn't fit his character for me. A motorbike I would buy. I hear what you're saying. A motorbike's too fast. But Frank Martin is a transporter. So are we to believe that he was a bike courier before he? Is this why?
Maybe
is his origin story Premium Rush starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which is a good action movie about people on BMXs and bikes.
Personally, I think I would have made it a golf cart or a milk float.
Yeah, a tuk-tuk.
Yeah,
is that what they're called?
Like yeah.
Fine, perfect.
Yeah.
It just
rickshaw,
reeks to me of like
things. Yeah,
it just reeks to me of BMXing is in.
Yeah, I guess.
It's also that, you know, I ride a bike all the time. I'm a bike rider. I love it. I ride to work and back. Actually, it's my like. I don't meditate or yoga. Me being on a bike is that headspace for me. I could just go out all day on my bike. In fact, I should just retire from being a teacher and be a courier. I'd probably be really happy. I'd be really poor, but I'd be mentally really happy.
You could have a day like Joseph Gordon-Levitt though. So
good point. I don't want that one.
No.
Yeah, there's just something about, you know, it's like grown-ups on scooters. Sorry if I'm offending anybody right now, but grown-ups on scooters or on e-scooters, or, you know, grown-ups, you know, like on BMXs doing tricks and stuff, or grown-ups on skateboards. It just becomes a point in your life where I think it's time to put that away. And Frank Martin on a BMX is way past time to put that away.
Would it have been worse if it was a skateboard? I think it would have been.
Yes, it would have been worse. Or scooters weren't a thing then, probably. But had it been, you know, 2020, he probably would have been on an e-scooter, and I would have fucking hated that as well.
Yeah, true.
Or if it had been 5 years earlier, he would have been on a Segway, and I would have hated that as well. So, it feels trendy.
Yeah, you're making me like this film,
yes.
even the one I don't like. much more. Every time I'm like, did I really like that? No, Jack's right. No, I don't like any of this. It's all rubbish.
And you know me, I don't want to feel this.
No, you don't. We don't want to hate this.
I'm dedicating a large portion of my life to talking about this actor. You know, to talking about it, to edit it, to put it out as well.
True.
I have a passion for Jason Statham and his movies. I'm really disappointed by this movie. You said you'd never watched it before. I watched it once when it came out, and that just speaks volumes.
Yeah.
And I came to it quite fresh. I couldn't really remember anything about it other than I felt disappointed. And now I know why.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Johnson?
Do it. Robert Nepper.
Yeah. Absolutely wasted as an actor. Absolutely wasted in this.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't decide. What I did last night was I rewatched a couple of scenes. So I just like fast forwarded through the film because I wasn't going to sit through it all again. I just rewatched. I watched the garage fight and I rewatched the ballroom fight earlier on that we spoke about, the flashback ballroom fight. And I watched a couple of the scenes featuring Johnson. I watched the train fight and a couple of the scenes where because I just wanted to just remind myself fresh for today to be like, do I really feel that way? And you're right. He's quite an intimidating presence as an actor. But I don't know what he's been asked to do here. And again, I heard Megatal in some behind the scenes stuff talk about Die Hard.
Right.
And I think what he's asked Robert Knepper to do is to try to be Alan Rickman, to try to be Hans Gruber, but crossed with Teabag. And again, you were talking about combining the female characters into one for Valentina. I think what he's being asked to do here doesn't coalesce into an interesting character. He's sort of threatening, but then, wearing sharp suits and trying to be kind of Hans Gruber at times. I don't know. He didn't. I like him enough, but I don't feel like the character came together.
Yeah. Again, it's like all of these films, I think, have weak villains to a point. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. The main villain is weak. Yeah.
Yeah. I like there's some comic books I'll go to, and I'm often it will be, am I reading this for the hero or am I reading this for the villain? So maybe Captain America, I might read it because the Red Skull or Baron Zemo's in it, or or if it's it's a Ghost Rider comic, it doesn't really matter. It's some fucking demon anyway. So I'm reading it for Ghost Rider. You know what I mean? So
sure, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I think these films, you're coming for the Stath. You are watching them for the Stath. And I think we've said this in all of the Transporter films. You're here for him and what he can do and what he brings to this role. I kind of agree with you, because there's that kind of, he's this calm, collected. He doesn't really want to. He says that he uses the wristbands because he wants to do the least amount of bloodshed, and I'm like, that's a fucking poor reason to use the wristbands. That is a shit. It's like, I've got to explain some reason why I did it in such a a fucking ludicrous and extravagant fashion, when I could have just fucking drove her in my own car to where she needed to be.
100%.
Like, why couldn't I just fucking do that? Make sure the job was done.
It's got so many goons; they would have been fine.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, just make it a big, huge fucking convoy. You are never going to be troubled with a massive convoy. Like, So, the phone calls, I guess, are a little Hans Grubery as well, because it's kind of like, what are your rules, and you're doing this, and I'm going to make you do it, and. I guess it is a little bit like that. But again, it's not a villain that's physically able to match the Stath in any form or for any length of time. That's why the fight scenes are always so short. I think he does have a pretty good death. I think that death is pretty good. I don't think you can really top that. I think that might be the best death of all the villains, I think.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Because again, he's hoisted by his own petard.
That's right. Yeah.
And so.
Although I don't really understand it, because the Stath straps him to the car.
Well, he pulls his arm through the steering wheel, puts on the bracelet, but then somehow he puts the car in reverse, I think.
So why didn't Johnson just stay with the car? Then he wouldn't have blown up.
Yeah, I think he tied him up just to get the brace on, and then he unraveled it, and then he just hit the car in reverse. Again, it happens quite quick. I also questioned, because I thought he was attached to the car. I thought, oh, now he's going to be trapped by the car, and there's nothing he can do. He's just going to, because that could have been the ending as well. Like he's with the car, and he's in the middle of a field, and his phone's died or something, and he's like, no.
Actually, would have preferred that. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, and then you just have to figure out, and then maybe like when Frank and Valentina are having a kiss, you just hear like in the background or something. But whatever that is. But yeah, it's just it's a waste. Like, I do like him as an actor, and I think unfortunately he kind of blew up, and it just went away quite quickly after that. I think he did a film. Was it Hostage with Bruce Willis? Was he in that? And
I was here. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Or was he in the Hitman film? He might have been in the Hitman film, maybe something like that.
I'll be honest. I haven't tracked his career.
Are you going to follow?
He won't be appearing on Back to the Filmography season 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. No.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, Robert Knepper.
But yeah,
you're right. He was in Hitman. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought so. I did. I think he was a Russian in that. I think he did play a Russian. He's got an amazing look. He's got a really fascinating look, interesting look. But yeah, again, he's barely in it. Like he's like 30-second scene, then he's gone. 30-second scene, then he's gone. 30-second scene.
It's true. Yeah,
and he doesn't feel like when I think about like menacing phone calls, I think about like Black Christmas. Obviously, this is not as like unrestrained, not unrestrained screaming of like piggy cunt or anything like that. Like, this, it's not absolute insanity and several different personalities.
No,
or anything, but
the way is a good example with Colin Farrell.
Absolutely,
that's Keith Sutherland, great voice, great actor. But yeah.
But and that film works because of that. Because of that gravitas, because of the intensity of that performance and the playfulness of that performance as well. But yeah, it's just not here, unfortunately. And again, the script is bad. It's full of plot holes, full of coincidences, and we're doing this now, or we're going to change the plan, and I'm doing this, and we're doing that, and this has changed, so we've got to change this. And it's just a case of you trying to just keep up. And the Stath doesn't really, again, like you said, the Stath doesn't really know what the fuck is going on.
No,
like with all this other stuff that's happening around him. At least with like Indiana Jones, he knew what the situation was. I know people argue that if Indiana Jones wasn't there, it would just fucking the same shit would happen. But at least he knew the fact that of what was happening at any one given point. There was never a moment where he was like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on." Frank Martin's just like, "Oh, I'll just protect the girl. Hopefully that'll turn out. Hopefully that'll turn out all right."
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a shame. I think the final fight as well is very lackluster, isn't it? Again, badly edited, but there's
it's almost exactly the same.
Skills.
It's almost exactly the same, like the plane fight in the second one.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
It's shot the same. It looks the same. Again, cramped, somewhat, not as cramped as it should be. It should have been, again, like that first film, really cramped. But yeah,
and you could do really good stuff. That think of like Kill Bill Volume 2. For all the criticisms people have of that, the cramped fight between Uma Thurman and Daryl Hannah, and that.
Oh yeah,
like brilliant use of space. So yeah, again, you can do really creative things with that, can't you? And as you said, in the hallways and Transporter with the axe guys, and it's there to be done. Yeah, it's a shame. I think there could have been more can be done, but I agree with you. It's kind of par for the course with this franchise. I think the lead villain in the second movie is a complete non-entity, but Lola steals all his oxygen, doesn't she?
Sure.
I do like Matt Schultz, the actor who plays Wall Street in Transporter. Yeah. I think he always brings he brings a level of threat. There's something about him that feels a bit dangerous whenever he's on screen. When he's in Fast and Furious, or he's in Blade 2, or he's in the Transporter, he always just feels like a bit dangerous. But yeah, his character was nothing in that movie either, really. So it's a issue with this whole franchise, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if maybe. Again, I know that in the Fast and Furious franchise, I know with The Rock and Vin Diesel, they have like contracts where they're like, I can't look weak at any point. I can only take so many punches, and I've got to give the same amount of punches back. I don't know if it's maybe one of those situations where, again, I don't see the Stath as being like them at all. I don't picture that as the way he views himself, or I don't think he has that kind of arrogance or ego that he would need to do that. Again, I don't know the man, but I get a sense of him through these films and interviews and what have you. I don't think it would be that kind of situation. But again, no. Who knows? But yeah, there's not one guy. Even when the big guy's coming out, even then I'm like, I don't buy that you're gonna be any sort of problem ever.
No, I agree.
Yeah, did you? We talked about that first one as well, in the first Transporter. We talked about the sucking out of the air from the tires, and again another big guy there, and he's sucking the air out of his mouth. And then I think, did you say Tony mentioned this, that it happens in this film?
I think it was Tony. Yeah, like I said, I thought it was yourself, but I always think of the TV show Alias with Jennifer Garner, and there's a scene. Sorry to spoil Alias from 2001 or whatever it was. There's a scene in season 1 of that when she does this, which I now realise is a riff on A View to a Kill that Roger Moore does as Bond in that. So it's obviously like this kind of legacy. Supposedly it can be done. It is something factually that you can do if you get the nozzle right, you could actually do this. Some, you know, like the Mythbuster type people have trekked it out. But yeah, that moment is quite fun. So in Odessa, we've got to this pointless bridge scene, and the Stath knows the only thing he can do. They take Valentina into the van, and they're going to take her off to use her as the threat, which they could have done all along. So he drives the car off the bridge, doesn't he, into the lake? I think into the river.
Yeah.
And as you say, he knows he has to stay underwater. So initially, he's using the air from the tires to breathe, and then he uses it to blow up the like the life raft, doesn't he? It's like a life raft type thing.
I think it's the bags. I think it's the bags that the money, those yellow pages were in. The supposed,
okay, yeah.
Supposed
it's like a buoyancy aid, doesn't he? Which is quite a clever idea.
Yeah, and he ties. I think there's 4, isn't there, or 3 or 4, and he ties them to each tire, and he's using them as an air pocket as well. While the car is coming up, because obviously your initial reaction would be, I need to swim to the surface. Oh no, I can't because I'm in the car, and if I'm far away from the car, tick tick boom, and then I die. So yeah, I thought it was quite an ingenious way of him kind of surviving, and he's basically just calling his mate. That's a great shot. I will say that is a great shot. When it's really dark, he's in the car, and the water's flooding in, and he's on the phone. I thought that shot was really nice, just the way it was lit.
This is the best sequence of the movie, 100%. Because as the car is coming up, you get a little like Bondian riff in the score as well. It's almost like coming up. So I think this sequence is for me the highlight. It doesn't have any of the editing problems. It doesn't have any of the like cinematography problems or plot problems. This bit works.
Absolutely. I think, and again, it's I think it thought has gone into this sequence. They've actually gone, oh well, what if he was underwater? What would he do with the car? How would he survive? How would he get away? And I think there was more opportunities for playing with that relationship with the bracelet and the car. I think there was definitely more ingenious ways. And I think if Corey Yen had maybe a bit more freedom or a bit more like, I would have loved to seen a fight scene just through the car, like them just like going through the car, fighting through the car, and punching out the windows and using it to his advantage. Like maybe Teabag limits the amount of distance he's allowed to get from the vehicle. And then guys just swarm.
Your punishment for not doing as you're told is I've reduced it by 10 minutes. Yeah, sure, that's a good idea.
Like, oh, you've only got 10 feet, you can get away 5 feet, you can get away from the car. And then it's like, and then he has to, and then all these guys come in, and he can just like he's kicking through the windows and using the wheel, using the steering wheel. Maybe one guy accidentally like sits in the middle, and then he like gets the gear stick and hits him in the knob or something. Again, trying to fix the film.
Yes.
There's a better film in my head, guys. I promise.
There is.
I don't know if I could get it out. I don't know if my work would be as good as Megaton's. A megaton of shit.
It would. It absolutely would.
But yeah, I think there was more opportunity to play with that idea. And again, I think there's too much fucking boardroom and phone call bollocks going on.
Yeah, true.
More so
featuring
than even
Jerome Crabb, isn't it? The guy I think of him from The Fugitive, but
oh yes, yeah. He's
Valentina's dad.
He's in a Bond film, isn't he? He's in is it Living Daylights or
that? Yeah, I mean that era sounds about right.
Yeah, because he's like sort of Russian and Cold War, and I think it's the Living Daylights he's in, because I think he plays like
Living Daylights. Yeah,
I was right, because he plays like a Russian double agent, and then he's very much like Jonesy, I'm on your side. Yeah. Jonesy, I'm on somebody else's side. Fucking hell.
Which he is in The Fugitive as well, actually.
There you go.
I'm your mate, but I'm not. I'm the guy behind it after all.
Yeah.
He's also the Dolph Lundgren Punisher.
So he is. Yeah, they team up at the end and they take on the Yakuza. I need to watch that again because I think as a cheesy action movie, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I should have done that for my Yakuza month, but oh well, didn't happen. But we did have a Dolph Lundgren film in there, so that still counts.
You did.
That's still
100%. That's a cracking Dolph Lundgren.
Oh yeah,
in there too.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So does the Stath still do enough himself? Does he come out of this like the film? We know the film is not good. The writing is not good. Besson's writing is poor here, and Robert Mark Kamen's writing is poor. who both have done good work previously.
Hmm.
Megaton, as you just said, ton of shit. Nepper's let down, but also doesn't do enough, probably himself personally. Is it Rudakova, this actress,
Yeah.
is awful. Can the Stath come out this unscathed? What do you think?
Well, I think you're right when you said he doesn't want to be there.
Mm.
He absolutely doesn't want to be there. I think
Just in that scene or the whole movie?
I think kind of the whole movie a little bit. I think he's at this point. I think he knows what he can do and he knows he can deliver it. But also, I think he knows that he can still deliver it while not caring as much. If you know what I mean.
Okay, I hear you.
He can. It's like when like when you start a new job and you get to grips with it. You know what it's about, and then you kind of decide, can I have a night out and still come into work and be all right? Will I still know what I'm doing? Will I still be able to cope and manage? And I think it's a little bit like that. Like he knows that he can still come in and can do his thing, but is he really going to be that invested? Is he really going to care that much? I think he knows that this is not as good as any of the other ones, or as previous some of his other films, or some of his upcoming films as well. I think he just knows it's not right. And I think you were right with the editing. Unfortunately, much like in The Name of the King, which that was, I think we decided the editing was the worst thing about that film, I think, if I remember rightly. And I think it's the same with this. Unfortunately, you're not getting the showcase you should be getting of the Stath because, and again, it's outside of his control, really. It's outside, unfortunately, of his control. It's not, I don't think it's one I'll ever revisit, I'll be honest, at any point. It's just not what I want. I might watch a clip or two on YouTube, but I'm not going to watch the full thing ever again, especially anything with Valentina in. But yeah, I don't think he comes out of it unscathed, but I don't think he's scarred by it.
No. Yeah, it's a little bit phoned in, this performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like this is another of those instances I spoke about it on the last podcast where he's got a few films that have all bunched together and come out in the same year. So he's had The Bank Job, Death Race, and now this. It just feels like he knows this isn't up to the standard that he's been doing recently. They're two good movies where he's really trying at both those films, either physically in how he looks and in his performance and in Death Race, or emotionally, I don't know what the right word is, actually, I don't know what the right verb for this is, in The Bank Job. Do you know what I mean? Like he's scaling back the Stath, he's becoming Jason Statham again, as we discussed in that episode. So yeah, it just feels like I'm going to turn up and I'm going to do this, but my heart's not in it.
How much is it? How much are you paying me? Oh, go on.
Well, it's interesting you say that because that's his reasoning for walking away from the franchise.
Really?
Is that, they said to him, let's do another 3. And they were offering him less money for those 3 than he'd earn from.
Really?
Or whatever he deemed not to be enough money.
Yeah.
So that's why he cites as walking away from the franchises, that they weren't offering him the money that he felt like he was worth for another 3 Transporter movies.
And I read this one made the most out of the 3.
Yes, I was going to talk to you about that. Yeah, it did.
Greed.
Shocking that, isn't it?
Greed.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Did you look at the numbers?
I didn't. I didn't look at the specific grosses. Numbers, but no, go on.
So the first one made 44 million. And then I think it was up in the air. I thought it was going to get sequel because it did really well on DVD. Transporter 2 went ahead. That then made 89 million. What do you reckon this one made? So we went up double, right, for 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Where do we reckon we go with this one?
What was 2 again?
89 it made.
89. 120 million?
I see what you did there. Not quite. 109 this made.
Okay, fair enough.
But still,
not bad.
We're not doubling, but we're up by 40-ish.
Yeah.
We're up by 30-ish. The increments are pretty decent, aren't they? The margins on that. Because the budget wasn't much more. I think the budget was something like 5 million more than Transporter 2.
Right.
So Transporter 2 cost 32 and this cost 40. So 8 million more and making a lot more money.
Can't believe they're
Yeah.
offering him less money. Why would they offer him less?
Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But I read that definitely that's why he claims he walks away, because the money they offered him was not enough for turning up for 3 more of these. But maybe it's also because he'd just been in this one and he didn't deem it to be very good and was worried about what they were going to do with the franchise moving forwards.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and maybe they were offering him a figure, and it was maybe a similar figure, but he was at that point feeling like he deserved more for what he was doing and putting his body through, and like you said, what's 6% body fat? Fuck me, Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, like crazy. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame to kind of come to this, like after the last two, like we really both really enjoyed those, again with their flaws, we still really enjoyed them, but this is just one big flaw. The whole thing is like from top to bottom one.
It is. And it's from the concept, isn't it? From the concept all the way up to the from pre to post production, there's just problems riddled all the way through this. It felt long watching it as well. Did you feel the same?
Yeah,
I was clock watching badly.
Yeah, I was on my phone. Surprise.
Sure, but do you know the runtimes for the 3 movies as well?
Do they get shorter?
Which let's see. So, Transporter 1 is 92 minutes.
Okay.
So, what do you reckon Transporter 2 is?
89.
Not bad, sir. Not bad. 87.
Oh.
So, yeah, that clocks in a little bit shorter.
Okay.
What do you reckon? Bearing in mind it feels 3 times as long. How long is Transporter 3?
I'm going to say it's got quite lengthy credits. So I'm going to say something like 82.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is actually 104 minutes long.
Fuck off.
It is
really?
considerably longer than the other 2, but feels even longer than that.
Jesus. Ugh.
Yeah.
Hell. Yeah. Just lots of. I don't know. I feel like I went on that journey to fucking Budapest and to fucking Odessa. I'm back again. Fuck me. Yeah, absolutely.
90 is the sweet spot for these, isn't it? For this type of movie, 90 is perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe, pushing up to an hour and 40, like 110. But this one is 104, but it feels like, 154? It's just dragged so badly, doesn't it?
They put the Transporter franchise into reverse.
Well, quite literally, because we have to, we can't get the Stath anymore, so let's make a prequel.
There you go.
All right. Anything else you can think of that you want to discuss?
Not really.
Stands out.
Was there any other particularly bad or awful lines? There was a line.
Oh yes, there was.
There was a line that
there was.
Go on. I can't remember what it was, but you'll remember, I'm sure.
In the words of the great American Donald Trump, "I'm sorry, but you're fired," was a line that Robert Nepper was asked to deliver in this movie. That poor guy.
What was Statham's final line? Like this big badass line.
Oh fuck yeah, that was awful as well.
What was that one?
Give me a sec. Because Robert Nepper says something like, do you want an ultimatum? Or it's not that, but it's like that. He says,
fucking
I'd like to offer you a position, as in like I want to give you a job, because he's saying I'm so impressed with your skills and how you've got here. And Frank Martin says, I'd like to offer you one. Permanently disabled.
Oh good God. I fucking laughed.
I know.
I laughed out loud. I was like, I can't believe he's just fucking.
And he had to say that as well. It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Oh, like those are 2 great examples why the dialogue and the script is arse. It's I'll steal Andy's line. It's absolute arse. Just fucking. I was like, I can't believe. One, I think that's a little bit potentially a bit ableist.
Yes, definitely.
As well, but also just a fucking awful line. What position? Like, even him going bent over with my foot up your arse would have been a better fucking line.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, anyway,
I am not the gay.
What position do you want to be in? I'm not the gay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I just those were 2 fucking really. I was just like grimacing, like going.
Yeah.
Like,
I couldn't tell if the Trump line was meant to be, because obviously it's Besson, it's
Sure.
French produced, it's French
Yeah.
money. I couldn't tell if it was meant to be like ironic or sardonic, or I couldn't tell if it was meant to be, like he's the bad guy saying this, get this, guys. It's not good that he idolizes Trump. I don't know if it was supposed to be satirical, but it didn't play off. He didn't deliver the line well enough for me to know whether it was meant to be or not.
It's just that I think he just made it a throwaway line. It was just like, oh, you're fired. Whatever.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. It was...
The only line I can think of that was good was during the ballroom fight.
Hmm.
Well, I think the leader, the big guy that's in that fight, puts his hand on Frank Martin. He's like, you got 10 seconds to do what I want. And Frank's like, well, I'll give you 5 seconds to remove your hand. Just the way he says it. I thought, again, it's not particularly special, but his delivery there actually made something of that.
Yeah, he did. Definitely.
Like, I'll one up you, mate, and I'm going to do something about it. Yeah, for that to be the best line of dialogue I can remember speaks volumes.
Yeah, and that could have easily been improvised by fucking the Stath, like by him himself. But yeah, just not very good at all.
No,
I think that's my I think that hits the nail on the head, is how bad the dialogue is. That's it. Like that's the final pin in the voodoo doll that is this film. Just fucking bad. No,
fair enough.
No, not the way you do it. You ruined it. It was you spoke and you spoilt it. Ruined it.
Shall we see if other people agree?
Oh yes. Oh, of course. Yeah, I can't wait to hear somebody letterboxed review.
All right. I mean, obviously, I've seen a review by your good self.
Oh yeah.
But I've had your lengthy version of that, so I won't read that out today.
Yeah.
But that was good. Jason Still says, flabby threequel, which apparently I've seen before, though I have no recollection of any part of it. The longest of the original threesome by around 20 minutes, and boy, does it feel it. We're back to bland baddies and the neat twist keeping the Stath in his car. All very battle royale is the only dramatic element that really works. The romantic scenes are tooth-grindingly uncomfortable. This isn't Bond. The camera work feels like a Tony Scott ripoff. And I know we don't come to this franchise looking for realism, but the plot should at least be credible within its own universe. True. All that said, the finale on the train is nicely played, and the Stath is always watchable, and he clearly knows when to leave a sinking car. Nice.
Very good. Very good.
Robbie Owen, short and sweet. I think Jason Statham might legitimately be the greatest movie star of the modern age. He gave it 3 stars. That's the highest review I could find that did something talking about the Stath. I mean, sometimes there are obviously higher reviews, but I tried to find ones which at least talk about the Stath a little bit. Ruari Walsh, or Rory probably. Sorry, Rory. This film contains, and I've actually put some thought into this, the worst written and worst performed female character I have ever seen in a movie. They try and give Statham a love interest, but in typical Luc Besson fashion, she seems to have the mental state of a 6-year-old. Which I'd never thought about that before, but when I read this, I was like, shit. Actually, a lot of his female characters are really reductive in that way. If they're not an actual child, like Matilda and Leon, they are Lilu in Fifth Element, or they are Nikita and La Femme Nikita. I was like, oh, actually.
Shit, yeah.
He finished off by saying, there's also a bit where the villain directly quotes Donald Trump. It's as out of place and unnecessary as it sounds. True. Dawson Joyce says, as dumb as it is woefully generic, Transporter 3 marks the beginning of the downfall of the Transporter franchise, with poor fight choreography, choppily put together action, and painfully bland everything else. All of these things later becoming well known as trademarks of director and untalented hack Olivier Megaton.
I've got a question for you. Who's worse, Uwe Boll or Megaton?
Oh, fucking hell. Do you know what? Megaton. Because at least Bowl kind of owns it and doesn't give a shit. Whereas Megaton, from what I watched behind the scenes, really thinks he's doing something special. He almost kind of badmouthed the first 2 Transporters.
Really?
When he was talking. Not quite, but it was the subtext. It was kind of like in this one, I'm doing this and I'm doing this.
Well,
And it's gonna be,
that would make sense to what I was saying earlier, where they've kind
it
of
would,
just
yeah,
jettisoned a lot of the shit from the previous two.
yeah.
So yeah,
The
that
action
makes
I'm doing in
sense.
this is much bigger and better. There's a lot of things he just said, which I know. I don't know what he's completely deluded. So yeah, I think at least Bolt owns it.
Yeah, he's deluded too, but he's doing it purely for a tax scam, isn't he? So, so you got to give him kind of points for that, for being that fucking ballsy as well.
Yeah, sure.
That tax loophole. But yeah, yeah. I mean, there's nothing interesting about this, is there? There's nothing
No.
I've instantly forgotten most of Transporter 3, but I can still remember In the Name of the King and the flipping ninjas and the very odd gravity they have throwing that woman across the mountains and the Stath across the mountains, whatever that fucking.
Get the horses. We don't need the horses. Go across the zip line. Zip line falls.
Oh no!
I'm going to run down the hill and I'll find you within 2 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But Reynolds, stop wearing that T-shirt in this medieval setting. Oh dear. That was a fun podcast. Not a good film, but it was a fun podcast.
No, but that's the difference, though, isn't it? Like, because we found the fun in it, there is no fun to be found here.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Just teeth grinding disappointment is what it is. Frustration.
That's true. All right, I can't leave a podcast without talking about Lou Shoemaker.
Absolutely.
I don't expect action movies to have airtight plots, but the premise of Transporter 3 is astoundingly dumb. The bad guy has already successfully kidnapped a young woman and needs to have her delivered to himself. And instead of just having one of his guys drive her, he has to force someone to drive against their will with a bomb. Have they heard of paying people money? The whole thing is bizarre and counterintuitive. If Statham is driving to the bad guy, there's no reason to get in a car chase. But there have to be car chases, so the plot has to fall flat on its face to accommodate them. Statham is fine in his third outing as Frank Martin, but the movie doesn't give him a lot to do action-wise, and he has zero chemistry with his co-lead. The scene where he's forced to strip is sort of hilarious in how blatant it is, like the oil scene in The Transporter, about giving women in the audience something to oogle at. But otherwise, it is a lot of bad dialogue and forced drama. And even for a franchise as over the top as this one, the idea that Frank Martin would wind up marrying a Eurotrash party girl is truly hard to believe.
I can't believe he's done it again, because he's absolutely summed up the film in the most stupidest way possible. The bad guy needs a woman he's already kidnapped to be delivered to himself. That is like a crystal bullet. That is, on how fucking stupid this film is. Again, could have just drove it. He's got to drive her himself. Doesn't even need to take her anywhere. He could just stay there and have the guy come to him.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he'd be on his home turf. Yeah, whatever. I can't. Fucking hell. Yeah, but Lou Shoemaker, he's a good one. Yeah, he's done it again. Absolutely amazing review. Absolutely amazing review. Again, putting even further holes in this film than we have already.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. What a master. Incredible. Yeah. Jesus.
All right, mate. Shock the world with your rating.
Okay.
Is this a classic? Is this worth catching? Or is it for Stath completists only?
It's a completist only.
Sure.
Only. Absolutely. It's not. There's nothing like. Again, you can just put Transporter 3 fight scene on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah.
That's it. You're done. If you want to see the Stath do his thing, do that. And the garage fight scene, or the fucking train fight scene, or the bit where he's underwater with the car and that section. That's all you need. Like those 3 scenes will do. Anything else is surplus to requirements. Absolutely only for completists only. I wouldn't own it. I do own the other 2 Transport films. I will not ever own this because it's not worth. It spits in the face of the other 2 films. It's just, yeah, absolutely. Only for completists only. If you are absolutely dead set on seeing it, watch it. Again, you'll try and find the joy. You'll try and find the minuscule amount of joy you can find. Even I've tried to do that through this review, and it's not satisfied me at all.
No.
Well, the more I've thought about it, I'm like, no, I hate this. And it's almost like a podcast with Andy where I'm like, no, Andy's right. I hate this. So,
I'm pleased to take on that role tonight.
yeah, take on that. No, he's like, no, he's right. He's right. They bamboozled me again. How dare they? So yeah, absolutely, completists only. Maybe not even completists only. I'll be honest. Like I think I said that about In the Name of the King, but yeah, only if it's completists only, and if you're some kind of sadomasochist as well.
Hello, I'm over here. I mean, there are worse films, to be fair, and there are worse films on the Stath's filmography.
Sure.
I mean, like, I'd argue Revolver is worse than this. London is definitely worse than this. But it's just such a step down from the previous two Transporters. And actually, it's a real step down from where he's at in his career at this point. Like I said, with The Bank Job and Death Race from this same year. War with Jet Li is, perfectly serviceable, fun action movie. Next up is Crank High Voltage. So it really stands out amidst this crowd of good efforts from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's disappointing. Again, it's not, like you said, it's not the worst thing he's ever done. But I think given the rise and the high moments and how much like I've listened back to those two podcasts just to remind myself of how we felt and what we had issues with and what we talked about. And again, it's more disappointing for that for me having going, yeah, I love that, I love this, I love that. And again, I'm glad I didn't pay for a cinema ticket for this. I'm glad I didn't take anyone to see it, because I would have been vastly, vastly disappointed. I don't ask for a refund at the cinema, but I might have done. But again, I'm sure there's worse films coming up. There's worse films he's done previously, but I think just given the connection to the previous two films, it makes it all that more disappointing, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you then for coming on and putting yourself through it. It's a shame that our trilogy kappa has ended this way, but I do appreciate it. And I think I really like that I've had this with you. I'm doing it with Paul for Crank, which is up next, as I just said. It's nice to have the same voice coming back to discuss, so we get a really nice, clean, golden thread through to see. Nice. So I really appreciate you coming on to discuss this one as well.
Oh yeah, it's been a blast. I've enjoyed talking about it more than the film, and that's the benefit of seeing a bad film, and then it makes for a good podcast. I always like that, and again, we find something entertaining or fun about something that's neither of those things.
That's true.
So yeah, so it's a nice. It's transformative. Let's call it. It's transformative.
Nice. We have also watched and discussed another film about transportation recently, which I don't know where we're going to line up. So this is coming out on the 7th of August. So I don't know where that will line up with your release schedule, because we recently discussed Sorcerer.
We did in the troubled production of William Friedkin's life and all the problems he experienced, including malaria. So yes, I in some ways I prefer to have got malaria than watch Transporter 3. There you have it. Yes. So
don't worry, Frank Martin probably caught it from Valentina.
So it won't line up. It won't line up perfectly, but at the end of the last week in August, we will get our Sorcerer podcast. So we've got first before that. So it will line up with a bit of a palate cleanse, because we're coming off our World War II month, which has been very dark, serious, harrowing, horrifying true stories. And we'll have just finished with Paul and Andy talking about Andy's choice of films. I let Andy choose, so hold on to your hats for that. And it's two true stories, two true adaptations of a true story. Escape from Sobibor, which is the Nazi death camp that the Polish Jewish survivors managed to escape, a small number of them, and it's basically that story. And we compare the two versions, the two adaptations of that story from two different books and two very different perspectives. So there's a lot to kind of talk about on there. And again, we talk about the Ukraine and Russia because I can't seem to move away from that at the moment. So yes, pro-Ukraine, by the way, just in case you didn't know. But yeah, so we'll get that. And then it's Lady Bird, so it'll be a nice change of pace. It's a lovely, sweet, very nourishing, very much like a soul food movie if you haven't seen it. And it kind of lines up with Barbie coming out quite recently. So Greta Gerwig's film. Highly recommend Lady Bird. I'm sure people would have recommended it before then and before now. Good, a lot of good reviews and good word of mouth. I'd never seen it and I really enjoyed it, and you'll find out why I like it, I'm sure. Nice, short, sweet podcast as well, just a little over an hour.
Almost could have been a last stop on the hype train.
It could have been. I think that's where it was in the list. I sent Alison a few lists, so I think that was in there, in fact. But she just wanted to basically say why she liked it. So I said, we'll just keep it nice and simple. So we just did a Secret Defenders instead. And Rhea was there to back her up. So that's the first Secret Defenders I've done with two people. So that's nice, unique situation. But yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a palate cleanse. Again, we recorded ours before Lady Bird, but I thought give it a little bit of a break, just a little bit of something nice and sweet, just a nice palate cleanse, and then we'll get into the deep, dirty, dark, and complicated world of Sorcerer. And again, a very good podcast, and that will be coming out just a couple of weeks after this. So yeah, I can't wait to. I've not even started editing it, and I can't wait to.
Perfect. So that was a lot of fun talking about that film. Not a lot of fun watching it, but not in a bad way. It's an intense movie, but it's a brilliant movie. Yeah.
Again, like very white knuckle ride kind of film. But yeah, I highly recommend that film as well. It's an excellent film.
Should the Stath come back, maybe that could be Transporter 4, could be a new Sorcerer, Wages of Fear.
Ooh. Now that would be interesting. So So he's got to fight round the truck, but not knock the truck because he's got the nitroglycerin. Okay, I can see that. That could work.
Just gonna log off this and get to writing, I think. Anybody know Jason Statham's agent? No.
Call him now. Call him.
Yeah. All right. Thank you once more, mate, and thank you everyone else for listening and partaking in this journey with me through the Stath filmography. That was Transporter 3. And next up, as mentioned, is Crank High Voltage. And returning for that is Super Dummy Paul. Followed by 13, featuring the debut of all-round nice guy Math, for anyone that is watching along. I'm Jack's Musings, and that's JACS. And you can find me on Twitter, where I am most active. Or X, or wherever. That thing that used to be Twitter.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Dumpster fire. That's what it'll be.
Yeah, who knows how long I'll be able to carry on there. You can also contact the show directly on Twitter under the name Back to the Filmog. Make sure you use the hashtag #FollowTheFilmography. I'm also a proud member of the Comics Emotion family, a super place full of the world's greatest people, dedicated to bringing you podcasts on a variety of geeky topics. So, please make sure you take the time to search, subscribe, and rate our shows whenever and wherever you listen. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers. Cut.